Hey everybody, welcome back to another Therapist Reacts. It has been a very long time since I've made one of these. My last one was back in October where I did a Therapist Reacts with Girl Defined, and we kind of peeled apart their thoughts on purity culture and what they believe now versus what they believed a while ago, which, shocker, it's not too different. So if you haven't seen that, make sure you go check out that previous video. Today, we're going to do something kind of interesting, but before we get into it, I want to remind you that yes, I am a therapist. I am a licensed therapist. However, I am not your therapist. This is not therapy. This is me just providing some of my knowledge, some of the educational background that I have, and applying what I know to concepts mostly dealing in the religious trauma area. I am a licensed therapist, but I'm also a certified religious trauma specialist. So I do come with a little bit of that background, and even better for you, I grew up in Christianity, grew up in the evangelical church. Later in my early 20s, I became part of a pretty charismatic evangelical church. And then in my mid to late 20s, I deconstructed. I now consider myself agnostic, and I really work with a lot of people in my therapy practice who are on deconstruction journeys to kind of like help them heal from the religious trauma and the indoctrination that they received. And so I'm really passionate about it. But this YouTube channel is something that I just do for fun. So it's a way for me to apply my knowledge, my education that I have without being a therapist. So it's a really fun way for me to kind of combine both worlds without there being that professional element there. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? You get me? Okay, so today we're going to do something really interesting. When I was in college, I was a part of a Christian organization on the campus, and the Christian organization is called SALT. And I just so happened to find way back in my emails from, I think it was like 2017, 2018, I found the covenant agreement that was emailed to me by the leaders that everyone in SALT who was on the leadership team was required to sign. So let me just make, okay, we're good. So everyone on the leadership team was required to sign this SALT covenant agreement, and I was on the leadership team of SALT. SALT stands for Students About Living Truth. It is no longer a program that's in operation. I believe they've changed the name, or it just is different now at the college I went to. And it was a group of college students who would meet on campus on, I think, Wednesday nights. Gosh, it's been so long. I think Wednesday nights we would meet, and then we also would go to this major conference once a year that they really pushed for us to like bring people to, and it was supposed to be like the salvation type of conference. If you're a part of the church, you get it. So I want to break down this covenant agreement that I had to sign in order to be a leader as a part of this group. And we're going to kind of talk a little bit about the cult and in the cult-like language and the indoctrination that we're going to see in this document. So grab a beverage of choice and come hang out with me as we deep dive into more cringy Christian stuff. It's so fun. Also, I want to say I do this stuff because I think it's so important for us to be aware of language that is used to kind of like suck us in. And here's the kicker. The people who are using this language, it's very insidious. It's used on a very subconscious level, and it's mostly language that they've heard other people use on them. So they're not intentionally looking at you and intentionally trying to manipulate you. This is language that's almost kind of been groomed into them. You are groomed to speak a certain way once you enter into this religious Christian realm, especially if it's a bit more charismatic. There's definitely a lot of specific religious language that's used that only people in that religious charismatic sphere know what you're talking about, but it sounds so supernatural and mystical and amazing. And I think it's something to really pay attention to. If you are a Christian, it's so important for you to pay attention to this. If you've left Christianity, it's always important for you to pay attention to this, because this language not only exists in our everyday relationships with people who are Christians, but also in the macro sphere. We're going to see a lot of this in the political realm as well, where Christian nationalism has kind of taken over politics, which I will talk about in a later video. That's not what today is. Today, we are going to break down the SALT leadership covenant that I had to sign. So I'm going to pull this up for you here. And you might not be able to see this. I don't know. I let me try to make it bigger for you. Then you can maybe get a gist of what I'm talking about. But I still want you to see my face. Okay. All right. Also, I'm very, very new to this YouTube life. I'm trying my best. Okay. I have it pulled up here. If you can't see it, I'm sorry. But I will watch this video back and make changes if it's like totally not readable. All right, let's go through this. So it starts here. This is the vision statement of what SALT is. SALT at its essence is a movement of students who live out their faith on campus, in a local church. I'm already in a local church and in the world. Hold on. Okay, now I'm a mover. I'm a mover when I record. In the world. Okay, SALT exists to help students live out their faith in college and beyond. The goal is to recognize that kingdom work begins internally, strengthening our personal walk with the Lord, and expands outwardly into our involvement with our churches, communities, and careers. As a leader, I willingly submit myself to the lifestyle and community commitments in this covenant. So at this point in time, so now that I'm thinking about this, at this point in time, I was already a leader. This covenant wasn't an option. Does that make sense? I was already voted on to be a leader. I was already a part of the SALT leadership team, and now I was signing this covenant, if I remember correctly. And especially with the language being used here, it's saying as a leader. So this is saying, like I am in the leadership position. I willingly submit myself to the lifestyle and community commitments in this covenant. You're going to see some language here, like the goal is to recognize that kingdom work begins internally. The idea of kingdom work is this ethereal, not physical or touchable type idea of bringing God's kingdom here on earth. A lot of that has to do with seeing people healed, praying for people, helping the poor, the widows, the orphaned, which those things are tangible, right? Those are physical things we can do. But when we think about bringing the kingdom here on earth, it's like bringing heaven, the concept of heaven to earth. That's essentially what that means. And they're saying in SALT, in order to do that, it first begins with internal transformation here and just walking close with Jesus. So let's start here. Then they start with a verse from Matthew 12:33-37. By their fruits you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruits, you will recognize them. Okay, I have a lot of thoughts about that verse, but let's keep moving. I understand that my life is a reflection of my relationship with Christ, and as a visible leader, others will look at my lifestyle and actions as a representation of the gospel. Therefore, I commit to the following standards of living out of a desire to properly represent the gospel. This already is like pretty cringe because you're setting people up for this type of honestly unattainable living. And you'll see as I go through this, it's just very intense. You're talking people who are aged like 18 to 21 serving on this SALT leadership team. Okay, so we are kids. Our frontal lobes are not even fully developed. So the part of our brain that helps us make rational decisions and helps us pull in logic, it's not even there. So we're being given this commitment like this covenant to sign, telling us how we need to be living our lives at the ages of 18 to 21, and maybe 18 to 22. Even then, that's still such an immense amount of pressure to put on these kids who are still trying to navigate the world and figure out who they are. And this covenant is kind of saying, this is who you are. We're going to tell you who you are. Okay? And in order to be a visible leader, your life needs to reflect Christ. We are going to set the standards of what a Christ-like life looks like. We, as humans, as these adult humans, are going to set a standard as to what a Christ-like life looks like. You're going to adhere to them if you would like to be a leader here. So let's keep going. This first part says here, I commit my body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, understanding this is an act of worship. Therefore, I commit to refrain from drinking until I am 21 years of age, and when I am of age, I will drink in moderation if I choose to drink at all, abstain from the use of illegal drugs, and seek to care for... I'm so sorry about those party balloons. What the heck was up with that? This is not a celebration. Seek to care for the body God has given me to steward. Not bad, right? Like, those are responsible things to ask people to do. If anything, I don't like, obviously, the Christian tie to that of worshiping and honoring your own body and having your body be a living sacrifice. I think these are just like maybe healthy things to talk to kids of this age group about. There isn't a lot of talk about the dangers of alcohol use, especially in college. We don't talk about the dangers of alcoholism, especially in college, or binge drinking, what that looks like in college. So I wish we could have those discussions, and even the discussion about the use of illegal drugs. Hey, let's talk about what that looks like for college students, instead of saying, hey, don't do this because your body is a living and holy sacrifice to God. Yeah, it's just asking people to blindly do what you're telling them to do without giving them an understanding as to why. And then the seeking to care for the body God has given me to steward. Okay, I get it, because this is coming from a Christian lens, so I'm trying to pull in both parts of this here, of me breaking this down of why this is toxic, but also understanding the people who wrote this were coming from a Christian Bible-centered lens. So their ultimate desire for us, it sounds like in this section, is to just take care of ourselves, to take care of our body, which I get, but I don't know. Let's move on. In a time of an enchanted, this is my favorite one. In a time of enchanted or enhanced cultural view of sexuality, I understand that issues surrounding the topic are complex and require great care when addressing. Yes, that is true. Therefore, I commit to living a life of restorative sexuality that seeks to honor my body and emotions, as well as the bodies and emotions of others. What does restorative sexuality mean? I don't know what that means exactly. This includes refraining from sexual intimacy until marriage, refraining from living with a significant other until marriage, repenting from lust, pornography, and other forms of selfish sexuality. Jesus Christ. Walking with and supporting those who may be wrestling with issues of sexuality. Engaging in hard conversations with grace and understanding while pointing to Scripture as the source of truth. Issues of sexuality. I bet they're talking there about like homosexuality or, gay thoughts. Some type of perversion is probably what they're mostly hinting at here. They're probably also including friends who maybe come to you and say they have a porn addiction or whatever. Porn addiction, quote unquote. That word is so overused when we're talking about porn. I'll get into that later. But it sounds here like they're talking about homosexuality. And then this last one here, acting against sexual abuse or assault and caring for those whom it affects. 100% love that that's in there. Absolutely agree. Couldn't agree more. But the other ones here, like refraining from sexual intimacy until marriage, refraining from living with a significant other until marriage. Oh man, I have talked about this before in previous videos, on previous like the Rose expose lives that I did. Christians have such an obsession with people focusing on not sleeping with anyone until marriage, and if you do, that's sinful. But then once you're married, anything goes, have fun. We need to shift the perspective from being sex before marriage is sinful to abusive sex is sinful. Raping women is sinful. Raping men is sinful. Non consensual sex is sinful. Non consensual sex in marriage is sinful. There's just such this obsession with like, don't stick it in anyone and don't have anyone stick it in you until you're married, when in reality that's not the issue here. The issue is that there's abusive sex that's happening in and outside of marriages, and we need to start teaching everybody what that looks like. That should be our goal. um, the obsession that we have with making sure that people aren't sleeping together before they're married, it's creepy. It's weird. It's so toxic. It's misogynistic. It's gross. And we got a bit to do. It is outdated and it's really harmful to people. It perpetuates and upholds purity culture. And it's especially damaging to women. It is this doctrine of theology that is not honestly even biblical. It's theologically inaccurate. It's very harmful to women. Oh, I hate it. And then the repenting from lust, pornography, and other forms of selfish sexuality. I'm assuming they're also probably talking about masturbation here as well, because masturbation is frowned upon within Christian circles. Masturbation is literally a tale as old as time. It is a part of human evolution. We have always masturbated. It is a part of our species. It is a biological thing to do. It is not sinful. We're taught that it is in the church, and that's so harmful because masturbation, it is a way for women and men to understand their bodies and to get in touch with their bodies and how they feel and what it means to orgasm, especially for women. And so just telling people that masturbating is solely selfish, it's horrific. It once again perpetuates and upholds purity culture, and it keeps people from just being connected to themselves. That's one of the big things about Christianity and purity culture that ties in with that, is that Christianity married to purity culture causes such a disconnect from our bodies. When you are living in this evangelical Christian fundamentalist mindset, you are very, very disconnected from yourself, from your body, from how you feel, from where your emotions are stored, because everything goes back to God and the Holy Spirit. And so there's almost like this entity that you're looking to tell you how you feel, and not yourself. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but it causes such a disconnect. So, this whole lust, pornography thing, lust, what does that mean? Does that mean that I'm married to my husband, and yet I see a guy walking down the street and I'm like, hey, that guy's good looking, he's pretty hot? That's not lust. That's a normal human thought. I still love my husband. He's my best friend. Couldn't dream of doing life without him. And just because I'm married doesn't mean that people all of a sudden become unattractive. That's not how life works. When you start to allow yourself to be a human, to be a free thinker, disentangle yourself from these rules, you actually find so much more liberation and grace and compassion for yourself as a human. I used to think something was deeply wrong with me if I would see a guy and think that he was really hot while I was married to my husband. I used to think like, oh God, my marriage is in trouble. And now I'm like, oh, holy shit, I'm a human. Oh, we talk all the time about people who are beautiful in our marriage. It's such a normal conversation for us, and it doesn't threaten like the security of like the love and the stability that we have. So this whole idea of lust, I think it's just honestly making people feel shameful for having most literally human thoughts. You are a human. You can't shut that off. Then the pornography piece, this is a whole other video. I think we got to talk about it because it's really important. Porn addiction does exist. There is science that we have that shows how porn changes the neural pathways in our brain. However, Christianity is really obsessed with this idea of pornography being like this top tier sin. Like, oh, it's real bad if you watch it. And I don't want to get into it, but there is like a biological component as well to watching porn and seeing people engage in sex. Can that become addictive? Absolutely. Are you addicted to porn if you watch it a few times a month? No, that's not addiction. But you have so many people feeling as though if they watch porn at all whatsoever, they're addicted and they have a really big problem. Like I said, whole other video, we can break it down later, but just something to kind of think about. And then walking with and supporting those who may be wrestling with issues of sexuality. I'm going to say that includes a whole bubble of things, one of those being homosexuality. This caveat they have here is like engaging in hard conversations with grace and understanding while pointing to scripture as the source of truth. There's no hate like Christian love, am I right? Am I right? I know. People who are gay have existed since the dawn of time. This is not a like new cultural phenomenon. People in ancient Rome were like always having orgies with each other. It was so common. So common. And it wasn't until 1964. Nope, I want to fact check myself. Hold on. Okay. 1964. Is it 1964? No. When was homosexual? Sorry. Pause. We got a fact check here. Oh, 1946. The mistranslation that shifted a culture. By the way, that's a fantastic documentary if you haven't seen it. 1946, the mistranslation that shifted a culture. The word homosexual was never used in the Bible. Never, because it was coined in the 19th century, long after the Bible was written. Guys, this word was added in. Okay, this did not exist. When you're talking about like the Jewish people of the day. Oh, hi, baby. Hello. When you're talking about the Jewish people of the day, that word was... Nitty says no, too. She says, no, it wasn't in the Bible. I love you. When you're talking about the Jewish readers, that word wasn't in there. We added it. In 1946, we added this word. So it's not theologically accurate, and it's very, very harmful to an entire group of people, to the entire LGBTQ community. They have been told by Christians that they are going to be sent to hell for being who they are, who they were created to be. It's a shame. It's a damn shame. And then the last one here I'm a huge fan of, acting against sexual abuse or assault and caring for those whom it affects. Absolutely. 100%. No notes. Then it says here, I commit to academic faithfulness and will strive for excellence in my studies. Should I fall below a GPA of 2.5, I will remove myself from the leadership team and with the support of the team, seek to improve my grades. Then with the approval of campus ministry staff, I will be reinstated to leadership. This is a pretty common thing. I mean, I don't know if like sports teams have you sign actual covenants. They may call them like maybe like agreements or something, but I can see the GPA thing being a common requirement just to make sure that students' grades are staying in a safe space, in a safe place where they're sure to graduate and pass their classes. And you know, the same is true in sports teams in college. If you fall below a certain GPA, you're like benched for a significant amount of time until you can get that GPA up. So I don't really have an issue with that. And then this one here, above all, I commit to fostering life-giving relationships, treating others with love and respect, and doing my best to relate to others in ways that honor God. Sure, don't mind it. Then the community commitments. This is where it gets good. What? What would you like to say to the people? You're a good girl. Here's a verse from Matthew 16, 24 to 25. Can you? Oh. Oh, you're blocked. I'm sure the people would rather see you than me. Nitty, what do you think? Oh gosh. Give the people what they want. Um, okay, so excuse you. Community commitments. Here's the verse from Matthew 16, 24 to 25. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." This type of verse is the type of verse that got like that the Columbine propaganda sort of ran off of this idea of like sacrifice yourself for Jesus, because that's where you'll find life. Like it's just so dangerous and sad. Um, there's such a devaluation of the human life here when you're talking about partnering with Jesus and doing kingdom work, because there's this idea of like losing your life for the sake of the gospel and for the sake of Christ, and you'll give it all for him, including your own life. And it's very, I don't know, it's weird. Okay, as a SALT leader, I commit to passionately following Jesus Christ and maintaining a healthy and active relationship with the help of the Holy Spirit. My commitment will be displayed in the following ways. Oh, fuck. This took up so much of my time as a leader in college. I'll never forget how much time this took up. A weekly discipleship time spent with the campus ministry staff. I hated this. And I hated it because I didn't get to choose who it was. There was one woman who would disciple us, and there was one woman who would disciple the women, and then the male staff leader who would disciple the men. And I didn't want to be discipled by the only woman that could, and it just felt like such an agonizing thing that I was forced to do, and I dreaded it. And I wish there was other ways that, we could have been discipled. And by weekly discipleship, they mean like sitting down with the male and female campus minister, and you talk about Jesus for like an hour, you read things, you pray, you update them on the intricacies of your life. Yeah. Next one, attending a community church at least 2 to 3 times a month as I am able. There are typically 4 Sundays in a month, and they would like a 50 to 75% regular church attendance to be on the leadership team. When you're in college, and if you are on the SALT leadership team, that doesn't feel like a lot because you probably were already going to church 4 times a month anyway. But now that I'm out of Christianity and I'm out of the church culture and I'm not indoctrinated anymore, now that I have my Sundays back, I have so much beautiful, holy time to spend on Sundays with my husband or with my dog or with my friends, going to brunch, reading books, drinking really good coffee, going to coffee shops. Like, just my life has become so much more enhanced and intentional since not going to church. And it's interesting to see how, like, they just want you to show up, like, just be a body at this church community 2 to 3 times a month. I don't know. Daily time spent in the Word and a weekly Bible study with others. You know how much time that takes as a full-time college student when you already have all of these readings to do, to then set apart time to like read your Bible every day? And not to mention, like, you yourself as a young student are then trying to interpret what this Bible says when you have no theological training, you have no research background, you're just reading words on a page that you've been told are divinely inspired and like come to life when you read them. You're reading them with no historical context, no education. You get to make up your own meaning for what these things mean. It's kind of dangerous in my personal opinion. Regular time in prayer for each other, PSUA students, campus ministry staff, and the world. This again, regular normal requirement. I prayed all the time when I was in college, so this didn't feel like a lot. Then supporting my fellow SALT leaders in joy and in trial through love, encouragement, and when necessary by asking hard questions with love. Asking hard questions with love. There's that little there's no hate like Christian love tagline. It's just like why do we have to put in there with love? I don't know. Now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like, it's just the language is weird to me because speaking now as someone who is no longer indoctrinated, uh, the in love part feels so pointless to add because, like, when you ask someone questions, you should always come from a place of like genuine curiosity about their life or where they're at or what they're doing, what they're up to. And the in love piece is like the little caveat, like the tagline or the excuse where you get to be like, "Hey, I want to ask you this in love. Why are you gay? When did you first start having gay thoughts? I'm asking in love. I'm asking in love." Do you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. Weird. Being open to receive correction and encouragement while reflecting on an attitude of humility. Doing the hard work of reconciliation no matter how painful. No, no, no. No, no, no. I don't like that. Someone above you telling you that no matter how painful it is, no matter how hard it might be, you need to reconcile with your abuser. No matter how hard it might be, you need to reconcile with your parents who neglected you. No matter how hard it might be, you need to reconcile with your church community that didn't listen to you when you came to them with a sexual assault claim. That's fucked up. Period. You don't get to tell someone ever at any point in time that they need to reconcile with someone. That is an individual choice. It is incredibly personal. It is also incredibly painful, and that is not for anyone ever to decide for you, ever. And then being faithful and taking responsibility for projects, service opportunities, and preparation time for events or activities we decided to take on as a group. Yeah, I mean, showing up, right? Following through with your commitments. Sure, I get it. Then it was Thursday. We didn't gather Wednesday, we gathered Thursday because here we go. I commit to facilitating the vision of SALT by attending Thursday gatherings, leadership team meetings, Jubilee, fall and spring retreats, and other sacrifices the Lord may call me to make for the sake of his ministry. Ugh. Let's just count this real quick. So every week I had the SALT meeting on Thursday nights. We had leadership meeting Sunday evenings, I believe. So church Sunday mornings, leadership meeting Sunday evenings. Then we had, so that's two, I don't know why balloons are showing up, saying a celebratory thing. Then we have we had Jubilee. I'm just going to put my fingers down because it's going to keep giving balloons. We had Jubilee, which is this massive conference that the CCO put on, which is the Coalition of Christian Outreach. They put it on every year where speakers come. It's like a salvation event. They have breakouts, and it was so pushed on us to like get people to come to Jubilee. And it's this whole hype around like this charismatic atmosphere where the mood is right because the lights are at the right setting and the music is going up the right octave and hitting that right minor when it needs to and major when it needs to, and everyone's raising their, like, it's literally just this, it's fake, it's all staged, it's a production, but it gets people to feel like the Holy Spirit is there. There's so much science to back up what's happening in moments like that. and it feels very real. I've had those experiences plenty of times over. And now that I have the psychological background that I do, I know what's happening in my mind and in my body and in my brain when I'm having what I used to refer to as supernatural experiences. They're very euphoric. They make you feel like you have this one-on-one connection with God. So we were pushed to try to like recruit other college students who may not know Jesus to come to Jubilee with us, and it'd be this really great thing. And then we'd also have fall and spring retreats, which were a weekend long. So there was a lot of commitment here and also we would like fundraise money at Penn State games by running like a concession stand. So there was a lot of commitment that you're asking of someone on the leadership team to do, which makes sense. Like, this is a leadership team. I chose this and then was voted on, right? Like, there is going to be a level of responsibility that I have accepted. But it's interesting how busy it makes you. And this is quite common in Christian spheres and in churches, when, especially as you like move up the ladder in the church, or you become more involved in your church, so to say, you might find yourself increasingly busy. You might find yourself giving up a lot of your time to this ministry and to this organization. You might realize that you're not even getting paid to give up all of this time and maybe even your own talents and skills to this ministry or to this church. And you find yourself really wrapped up and really involved. That's a really key part of indoctrination. If they can, and like I mentioned at the beginning, this is very like insidious. It's not, it's very, it lays on the subconscious of the person doing it. They're usually groomed to do it from like generations prior. Like, this is a very learned trait in the Christian world. If you can get people to become heavily involved in your ministry or in your church, and you keep them busy with doing things and giving of their time and their skills and their assets, and of their own body, like just physically being a presence there, then that keeps them from being able to step outside of that organization and think for themselves autonomously and independently. It prevents them from thinking freely. AKA, this person is being indoctrinated. They're always in that environment. They're always in that atmosphere where they hear that language over and over again. They're around people who believe those things over and over again. And soon they become kind of isolated in this community of people who only think like they do. That's the point. The point is to keep you there. Okay, and then this next point here, I commit to facilitating... Oh, wait, I said that. I commit to helping others feel the love of Christ at SALT functions. Oh my God. I commit to helping others feel the love of Christ at SALT functions by planning events that are Christ-centered, welcoming new faces, extending a personal invitation to other events, and spending intentional time getting to know them. It's all fake. And if there's anything that can tell you that, it's this bullet point right here. That's the reason I was nice to you at SALT events. That's the reason why I would plan like women's Christian book studies. That's the reason why I would personally invite you to come get coffee with me. It was all under a guise of getting you to say yes to Jesus. I didn't really care about anything else. Your salvation was the only thing on my mind. And to people I did that to, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was deeply indoctrinated, and it doesn't excuse what I've done. And now that I'm not indoctrinated and I've walked away from that and spent a lot of time healing, and I'm still healing, I really now see the beauty of people for who they are. And it's been really cool just meeting people and having zero intention of trying to convert them to Christianity. I literally can just sit with someone, hear their story, and there's no fucking pressure. They just exist, and I exist, and we exist together in the same space, and it's really beautiful, and it's really holy, and it's so liberating. It's so liberating. So if there's anything that you need to hear that's telling you that this is all a facade, it's that bullet point right there. I'm trying to get you to feel something supernatural. I didn't actually care about you as a human. I was convinced I did, but I didn't. I cared about your salvation. I cared about you getting into heaven and me having another jewel in my crown of someone that I saved. And then this next bullet point, I commit to putting my faith into action by intentionally pursuing relationships with those who may be far from God. Ding, ding, ding. There you go. There it is. There it is. That's the goal. That's the goal. I don't care about you. That's what this is saying. I don't care about you as a person. I just care that you have a relationship with God, which they'll then convince themselves, well, that is caring about someone as a person. I care about their salvation. That's the most important part of being a human. But no, it's not. It's what you've been indoctrinated to think is the most important part of being a human is someone's salvation. But not everyone believes in that. And also, it's a belief. Our beliefs are just that. They're beliefs. They're not facts. They can't be proven. They can't be researched. They're just beliefs. This next part, seeking every opportunity to share the gospel of Christ with hope that God will open doors for new faith commitments and transformations. This is fucked up. This is fucked up, period. Being willing to participate in a mission trip and or service opportunities. Yeah, this is insane. This is insane. And these are commitments, these are covenants that 18 to 22-year-old kids are signing. They don't know what this means. They don't know what this means. This last one here, I understand that the campus ministry staff exists to support and challenge me, and I give them the right and the duty of removing me from the leadership team in such a case that I violate the standards of this covenant. However, I also understand that their heart is for my heart, and together we submit ourselves to Christ. Therefore, I trust that they will prayerfully discern when grace needs to be given and when a hard challenge must be issued. Overall, as a SALT leader, I understand that my lifestyle should exhibit my passionate pursuit of Christ. By signing this covenant, I proclaim that my life's goal is to love and serve Jesus Christ. No. I understand that my lifestyle should exhibit my passionate pursuit of Christ based on what you, two adults, have written for me and told me how my life should look. By signing this covenant, I proclaim that my life's goal is to love and serve Jesus Christ based on how you're telling me it looks like to love and serve Jesus Christ. And as a young kid whose prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed, I'm going to believe you. I'm going to believe you. And I'm going to lay down my own individual autonomy that I have as a human, which is my own right to have as a human. I can't turn that off. I'm now turning that off because I don't have my prefrontal cortex fully developed. So I'm turning that off and I'm trusting you to tell me how to live. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. Well, now that I'm all cranked, yeah. So also, if we're confessing things, I didn't live by that covenant when I was in the leadership team. I didn't. And, I felt such immense shame because of that. Immense shame. And that's the thing, like this covenant, it's telling you what you need to do to live by these certain set of standards if you want to be on the leadership team. But it makes people live in fear because if they slip up based off of this, covenant that they're being required to sign, it makes them so afraid of how people will view them. It makes them feel so sinful and shameful. So I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of people on the SALT leadership team throughout the years, were engaging in stuff like that we were told not to, because we're humans and we're kids and we're in college. Anyway, thanks for coming to this video. I appreciate you. Also, check out this hoodie. It has my dog's name on it. I love it so much. Knit me. Thank you for checking out this video. I hope that this is helpful for you just to kind of hear my own experiences when I was deep in Christian evangelicalism. And it's really honestly freeing for me to talk about these things now. And yeah, stay tuned for more content. I'm hoping to get more content out in the near future. I hope you like my setup. I'm trying to get it figured out. Do you like the fire? I think it's cozy. It's a little chaotic back here, but these are all places that we've traveled. My husband and I are big travelers. So we collect memorabilia from places we've traveled, and I like that. Anyway, that's not about this. I'm gonna get this YouTube video uploaded and start to create more content, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for joining.